Russia's war against Ukraine has led to new efforts to overthrow the rule of Vladimir Putin. A drone attack on the Kremlin last month was one of a growing number of attacks inside Russia. And one of the anti-Putin groups claiming to take part is the so-called Freedom of Russia Legion. That's the name, formed last year by Russians cooperating with Ukrainian forces to fight what they call Putin's armed gang. Holly Williams has a closer look.
16 months after Vladimir Putin launched his invasion of Ukraine, now it's Russia that's coming under attack. The Freedom of Russia Legion, made up of Russian defectors and based inside Ukraine, has launched incursions into southern Russia in recent weeks, sending local residents fleeing.
How does this work? Are your guys going to fight their way to Moscow and seize control of the Kremlin?
Yes. That's exactly the plan.
Ilya Ponomaryov says he's the Freedom of Russia Legion's political representative. He's a former member of the Russian Duma, or parliament, who became an enemy of Vladimir Putin and now lives in exile.
Do you think that Vladimir Putin's regime is going to collapse anytime soon?
Yeah, I think it's coming this year.
This year?
This year.
Why do you think that?
So we see the events, how they are evolving in Russia. So I think that his regime would collapse.
Many others believe that's unlikely. Polls still show Putin has an approval rating of around 80%. But it's true that his military has suffered a string of humiliating failures in Ukraine, with more than 200,000 Russian casualties, according to the US. And the Freedom of Russia Legion is so worrying, Moscow has declared it a terrorist organization. In Ukraine in April, we met two of its young fighters, determined to stop Putin.
Many people back in Russia would say that you're traitors. What would you say to them?
It's our country that betrayed us, he told us, unleashing this war without asking anybody. Last month, the terror of war arrived in central Moscow. Drone attacks on residential streets in the Russian capital.
Now, the war has come back to Russia. The drone attacks, the shellings of border regions, that definitely starts, making people think about something is going wrong.
Konstantin is a Russian political commentator who's critical of Putin and fled his country last year, fearing he'd be arrested. He also believes Russia's leader has been critically weakened by a war that isn't going to plan.
He is in power for as long as he's confident and he shows that he is strong. So this is one of the reasons that I say this is the beginning of the end for him.
Ukraine has denied any involvement in those attacks within Russia. Now, we should tell you that the Freedom of Russia Legion has cooperated with another armed Russian group that reportedly has links to neo-Nazis. Ilya Ponomaryov justified that by saying they're his allies because they want to defeat Vladimir Putin. The big question is whether these attacks really pose a threat to Putin. I don't have a clear-cut answer for that, but they do show that some Russians are willing to risk everything to try to get rid of him. Gayle?
It seems so. Thank you very much, Holly Williams, reporting from London.